Coming to you live from the Business Radio X studio, it's Franchise Marketing Radio. Ready to revolutionize your franchise with AI? Franchise Now empowers franchises with advanced AI solutions, automatic processes, and enhanced marketing strategies. From personalized customer interactions to predictive analytics, we help you harness AI to drive growth and efficiency. Transform your franchise with the power of AI. Visit Franchise Now to learn more and take your business into the future. Now, here's your host.
Welcome back, everybody, to Franchise Marketing Radio, where we bring you the stories, strategies, and successes behind some of the most innovative and fast-growing franchise brands in the market today. I'm your host, Rob Ganley, and today our guest is no different. He is not a stranger to our show either. This is, I think, his second or third time back with us. His name is Michael Moorhouse. He's the president of Mosquito Shield and Decorate with Lights. Michael is a dynamic leader with deep expertise in the franchise development, marketing, and business strategy. Under his leadership, Mosquito Shield has, grown into a standout name. It's been around a while. They've been a top brand for quite some time in the home services sector. And they're known for their unique pest control formula, high retention rates, and compelling franchise opportunities. Michael, welcome back to the show.
Hey, Rob, it's always great to be with you. So thanks for having me back.
Yeah, it's good to have you back. I love having these conversations with you guys. You do all the hard work in franchising, and I get to talk about it. So anyway, you make it seem easy when I get to spend 45 minutes with you or what have you. But I do love talking to you. Thanks for coming back and talking to us about your business model and your brand. Let's just get started. Like you were on board about a year ago and we talked. And so why don't you catch us up? What's been going on? I know we're living in a world of fast change. So tell me a little bit about the last year and catch us up. And for anybody that's tuning in, maybe just a quick overview of the brand and how you serve.
Interesting. You talked about the timeline in March of this past year. It was 17 years for me with Mosquito Shield, which is kind of mind blowing. So that caused a lot of time for reflection and pause. And it was really interesting just to reflect back on that whole time period and launching the franchise system back in 2013 and where we are today. So yeah, the past year has been a whirlwind. We've been blessed to be under the platform of 5-star franchising. So the resources that have come with that have allowed us to just really scale our team internally. I think we've added maybe 6 or 7 team members over the last 12 months, several FBCs, franchise business coaches to work directly with our owners. So the support that we're providing on that end has been amazing. We're finally launching officially You mentioned Decorate with Lights, which has been a passion of mine. I helped kick off the holiday lighting brand back in 2016. And we're formalizing that into its own franchise entity this spring. So that'll be a separate spinoff for us, but it's a great bolt-on business for our mosquito owners where they can finish spraying in the fall and then go right to decorating decorating homes. It's the same clientele, the people that want to have a beautiful backyard, a nice summer night, want to have the best looking house during the holidays. So yeah, it's been a busy 12 months for us.
Well, tell me a little bit about 5-star. I'm familiar, and then the concept of platform companies is starting to become more common, but still not fully understood by everybody. But that does change some things, and it's pretty cool. When did that happen? I want to catch up on that, and if you could share a little bit more about what that means to your brand.
Yeah, so we were acquired, privately owned. We were acquired in 2022, so March of 2022. So we just hit 3 years. 5-star was formed by 2 amazing franchise, especially home service giants, Scott Abbott and Chad Jones, who had started 5-star painting many, many years ago, I think back in 2005. And they grew 5-star painting into a really large national franchise. And then they sold that to Neighborly. And they took a little bit of time off and then said, we really want to get back into the franchise space. Let's, sort of create our own Neighborly, if you would, of home service brands underneath the 5-star franchising platform. So, what that means for us as one of the brands underneath their platform is all of the shared resources that you get that you can then hand down or pass on to your franchisees. And again, they've brought in since day one, they've brought in resources that as a privately held company, we just simply didn't have available to us. So we always struggled to scale as our owner base grew, like growing proportionately with the support system. Those are some of the things that they brought to the table immediately. And then with the shared services, you immediately got an IT department that's 5 times the size of anything you could build on your own. You've got marketing resources that are 5 times what you could ever build on your own, and so on. So that's, it's been a real, like I mentioned earlier, just a real blessing being with 5-Star, learning from these guys that are just accessible 24/7 on how they grew, their own home service platform to the size that they did. And then the learnings that came with that. And so it shortens all of our learning curve significantly. So, I used to say back in 2013 when we launched, like we were the best mosquito company out there because we were really the only mosquito company. We were a mosquito company that got into franchising. Everybody else is franchise entities getting into this space. But we didn't really know franchising in 2013, and we had a lot to learn. And our early franchise owners were our stakeholders in the brand. To this day, they've shaped, what Mosquito Shield is. But having 5-Star there as a resource has been invaluable.
Well, I was just kind of curious. And so I kind of like did a little research on some of the other mosquito brands, right? And you guys are way older. You're right. You were the mosquito company that got into franchising, and not because it's a great business model, started a franchise around it.
Yeah.
But I noticed that you're really have been around a long time, and I think, at least the ones I looked at, you were the oldest. You had been around.
Yeah, and
2001, right?
2001, exactly, Robin. When we do new owner training, so new owners will come to the home office for a week, and it's a full immersion into the brand. But we start with the history. So I kick off the week with just a quick intro to who we are, because we want them going back to their local markets, embracing that. But I tell them the most important thing about our history is that we have one, right? And there's so much. So, you're locally owned and operated. You want everybody to know you're a new business owner in your town, but you should be opening with the 20 plus years of experience that we're giving to you, right? There's so many learnings from that is such a head start. So that, we lean in on that, and we really make sure that our owners lean in on that. So that's the way I kick the training off, is making sure they realize that we are first and foremost the best at controlling mosquitoes out there because of that legacy of where we started.
Yeah. Now, quality is, I remember in all our conversations, that is a focus of yours. Tell me a little bit about your proprietary approach to your blend, to your solution. And I know that your retention rate is 90% plus, whatever that is. It's just really unusual. And I know that's incredibly powerful for anyone interested in running a local business. But tell me, I know part of it, there's a lot to that, but part of it is the product. And, much like I think of like a food brand where the food, the quality of the food is everything. It's the marketing, it's the word of mouth. People talk about it. Same with you guys. If it works and it just makes your environment better, you talk about it. But tell me about what makes you guys unique there with how you formulate your product.
Yeah, I love to. So we learned a long time ago that, when you buy something off the shelf, like you can get results, but we weren't seeing the results that we thought would make this a scalable business. And that is what you mentioned, retention rates, which leads to recurring revenue. When you know that 8 or 9 out of every 10 customers are coming back for life, like that's recurring revenue. And that's happening because the results are so good. And listen, if you take some of the other people in this space, and they're in the 60 to 75% retention rate, like that's decent in home services, like compared to lawn care that they lose half their customers every year. People are shopping around for greener grass as a homeowner. When you have 85-90% of your customers coming back, you can really build off of that. And that's really a big part of that is the proprietary blend. So we, back in probably 2004, started the founder of Mosquito Shield, to his credit, started playing with just formulations and doing a lot of research and putting together blends of all natural oils. And there was a lot of trial and error in the beginning of what's working, what's not working. But what we saw over a short period of time was just service calls going way down, word of mouth increasing. So more sales coming in, which meant customers were happier with what was happening. And we really noticed it if you go back to 2008, 2009, when the economy was crashing. The founder had a lawn care franchise. And those customers were canceling during the crash of 08, 09. But what we saw that was super unique, Rob, was that they were keeping the mosquito service. So, again, by comment earlier that the important thing about our history is we have one. We saw what happened after 9/11 because we were in business, and we saw how mosquito increased because people were staying home. And then 08, 09 was the advent of the staycation. People were staying home in 08, 09, canceling their lawn care service, but keeping their mosquito control. And then again, we exploded during COVID, right? So now we've got some uncertainty about the economy right now. And what we know for our owners is that we're in a really good position because of our history of seeing what happens in down economies. But a lot of it has to do with that proprietary blend. It's a blend of all natural oils. It's a 25B product, which means it's a EPA exempt product. We do use some control materials that all the other companies use, but this allows us to use a lot less of it, but also to get another, what they call mode of action. So it has its own killing properties, its own repelling properties. So when you mix it, and it's a recipe that we call it, and we train the owners on it, it's far superior results.
Yeah. So 90% is still really high, right? So, and your business model, I just kind of want to unpack it slightly with why that is, right? Like obviously the product is key. And I thought actually what you just shared, I never realized. But it's one of those things that people probably don't want to deal with on their own. They probably aren't quite sure what to do or what to use. Is it safe? Is it the best product? Right. It's just interesting that in those downturns, every time people are like, no, that's one thing we're not getting rid of, right? We're going to keep that going because it's almost like you're wasting everything else. You can't go outside. You can't enjoy your house.
Right. Exactly.
You know what I mean? But that's interesting. I mean, you're talking in my lifetime, those are the staple events, like since I've been a professional, 9/11, 2008, and COVID. And in all of those, your model actually got a boost. So yeah, unpack a little bit more. Why do you think in the way you guys do business, the retention rate is so high, and why you're having
I think there's one other really big component to what I would call sort of the secret sauce. And I don't mind sharing it because it's out there. Other concepts have tried to figure it out for a long time. It's not an easy thing to do, but we don't spray on a set schedule or a set number of visits. It just simply doesn't work. And so we tell that to the homeowner. We market it. It's on our website. We're gonna monitor in your market, Rob. We're gonna monitor the mosquito pressure and the weather, and we're gonna come out essentially as often as needed. So we tell the homeowner every 10 to 17 days. Any other concept out there is selling a 21-day or a 30-day program. And the reason is that the control products that I mentioned, it says on the bottle it'll last 21 to 28 days. Because in the lab, it still has some effective active ingredient on that 21st day. But in the real world, with rain and heat, that product is not working on the 21st day the way you want it to be. So that's why we made a shift years ago with our proprietary blender product, and then just the know-how that you've got to be out there more frequently based on weather, that we're coming out so much more often than the competition. And the crazy thing is we're able to do it at a lower price point because we're also on the property for less time. So knowing where to spray, how to spray. So we can do a property without getting into the weeds here. We can do a property in 5 to 6 minutes, and the other guys are spending 20 minutes on a property. We'll use 2 gallons on that property, and they're using 6 to 8 gallons on that property. We're getting better results. We can pass that savings along to the homeowner, so our per spray price is less money. So when I look at this through the lens of business ownership, right? So why would somebody choose like Mosquito Shield as a pest control company over others? Like you're getting a bigger territory, you're paying lower fees, but you're getting all that proprietary know-how. On the consumer side, like what are you selling to the homeowner? They're getting more visits, better results, and they're paying less, right? So there's a lot of value proposition on both sides of it. If you're looking for a business opportunity, we check more boxes than any of the other options. If you buy the business and you're going out to compete against them with the end user, the homeowner, that's it. You're getting more visits, better results, and you're paying less for it.
Interesting. I mean, it's straightforward, right? Now, I'm just curious. So the idea that you can do what you do, and I don't want you to unpack too much, obviously, but I'm just, from what I'm what I'm unpacking in my mind here is you're going out more frequently. First thing I thought of was, well, that's probably good. I don't know that you always see the homeowner each time, but I would say that that's an opportunity for your brand to be there, say hello, smile, make a comment, have a conversation, whatever that might be. So that's always good. But the other side of that was, and I guess the question of that would be, do you leverage the fact that you're out there more? Is there something you think about that way? And then the other part is it something to do with they know where to spray? Like if you just had a torrential downpour for last week, you kind of know, okay, if that happens, here's where we focus. Is that sort of a little bit of what you guys know?
We use the term in sort of tongue in cheek when we're training all of our owners and then even their technicians of that's what we call sort of the spray and pray model of just every 21 days, dump a bunch of product on the property and pray that it's going to work. Right. You can't have the retention rates that we do without having amazing results, controlling something that's near impossible to control. Like we can't get rid of every mosquito on a property, but we will change your life in your backyard. Like that's what I've called it forever, a quality of life service. We're allowing you to stay out at night as late as you want, as long as you want, not having to be covered up in long sleeves or yoga pants or spraying yourself down. That's the quality of life service we provide. But we go right down to the technician level. Like we hold boot camps every spring where owners will come. They'll bring new hires. They'll send previous techs as a refresher. We just launched a full-scale perimeter pest program, spiders, ants, cockroaches, that kind of thing. So that's a new service. So we had a special training for that this year. But we did in-person training in Orlando, Dallas, Milwaukee. We're doing one in Massachusetts coming up. And I mean, collectively, we will have trained this season about another 170 technicians from all over the country that are learning those exact things. When you get to a property, there's two places, again, all the secret sauce. There's only two places on a property you need to worry about. Where the homeowner is spending time, which is pretty obvious when you walk around back and see the sitting area, the fire pit, the pool, like where the homeowner is spending time, and then where are the mosquitoes coming from? Like where are the damp, shady areas? Where are the real lush areas? Where's there a potential for standing water? What's over the fence? A lot of times you got to look over the fence and you see an abandoned pool or you see, so there's just a lot of stuff that you need to educate the homeowner on. But that's what we do at our boot camp. Like we instill this into technicians. They've got to take tests. They've got to pass the test. If an owner sends a technician to this boot camp, but they don't attend, we report back to the owner on that technician. So it's just a really, again, learning years ago, like it's boots on the ground and what happens when the technician shows up on that property. And we got to make sure that they are as equipped as possible.
I love that. It reminds me, my dad was in the computer business and someone told me a story about him one time, and it was an older guy, and had a lot of respect for my dad as an engineer and a data center expert. And one of the things my dad did once, they were touring a data center, and he lifted up the floor panel and showed him a bunch of dirt on the bottom. It was obstructing airflow, like looking on the other side of the fence, right? Because it could be the major problem. And even though you would think it's not your business, it's on the other side. I love that you do that extra step and make sure you know what's on the other side. The thing is, I have this thing at training. I try to attend as many of them as possible. Over the last 12 months with this really robust team we've built out, it's allowed me to not have to go to all of them, which is great. I can focus on other things, but I always tell everybody to look up, and no one ever does, right? Everyone's always looking down for puddles and the problem and trash and tarps and anything holding water, but you look up and you see trees growing out of the gutters and so it's just, you got to really investigate, especially if you get a service call. That happens. We do free resprays. So if a customer says, hey, I'm seeing like a ton of activity, there's no charge. We go right back out within 48 hours. That's a company policy. We're right back on that property. And it's an investigation. It's like, what did you miss? What's hiding? Because it's always something, right? There's definitely something hiding somewhere that you didn't see. And again, that's what leads to really good responsive customer service, having the best product and know-how out there.
and then the manner in which we treat the property is all sort of that that leads to that, those magical numbers.
Yeah, exactly. It's all about how you make the customer feel, right? It's like these guys know their stuff. I love being around people that are experts. I don't care what it's about, to be honest. I just enjoy people that really know their craft.
When you know what I mean? When you're in good hands, it's a comforting feeling. It's interesting having been paralleled so long with the lawn care business, because for years I was helping with both. I was helping with the lawn care franchise while I was learning the Mosquito side and getting ready to launch the franchise in 2013. You'd get people calling in irate about their lawn, right? But they never wanted to upset the Mosquito side of the office, right? Because it's like, I don't want them to not come out. So, the service calls would be the funniest thing. You'd hear someone saying, I've got a spot on my lawn and you better get out here and fix it, for the grass side of things. And then they'd call and be like, I might have seen a mosquito. It's okay, but like, could you come? They don't want to disrupt anything because it's such a life-altering service that we provide.
Wow. So let's talk a little bit about marketing. And for those that would consider a model like this, I want to stay on this one: quality of product, quality of experience, because if you have those things, then your marketing becomes very natural as long as you just follow through a little. Right. And I'm sure you have ways of helping your franchisees figure that out, right? Take advantage of what we've already built, which is the best product and the best experience. Now you just need to take that a bit further and let other people know. Tell me a little bit about how you leverage that. What are some of the tactics and strategies that go into local marketing?
Yeah, no, it's a great question, and feel free to keep asking or jumping in, because you asked a question earlier and I didn't even fully answer it, because you talked about the frequency of which we're out on a property. If you just think about that in and of itself, that truck, and then we're putting signs everywhere, right? So those trucks and signs are happening 2 to 3 times more than the standard company that's only out there once a month, right? So the visual exposure that our brand is getting in neighborhoods, and that's really what it's about. It's down to the neighborhood level, right? So the visual exposure. We track our sales sources every time, right? So where did you hear about us? In the top five, every year, every month, every week is saw sign, saw van, web search is always up there, but it's the grassroots stuff. It's seeing the van in the neighborhood, seeing the signs in the lawn. And, that's the critical component to it. With that is some tech that we've layered in. So we have, our routing, our software that we manage our customers with. We have a neighborhood mailing option right out of the software. So if we know we're doing a route next Thursday, we can mail to that neighborhood, to the people that are not our customers, saying, hey, we're going to be here next Thursday. We've got 7 happy customers on your street, that kind of thing. So it's super targeted. But then at the same time, we're still putting signs out. We're door hanging. We're doing all the things that you need to do just to create. If you think about, Rob, this number keeps growing, but the number of touch points with a consumer it takes to get them to move or to act on something, I think it's 8 to 10 or 12 now of touch points. And if you think about it, if a homeowner is driving into their neighborhood after work, they're coming home, they see the van pulling out, there's a sign on the corner, there's a sign on the neighbor's lawn, there's a door hanger on their door. They pull into the driveway, go to the mailbox, get some mail, and there's a postcard from us. Like, we just did a shit ton of things. That's only 5 touches.
You still got more work to do.
We got to do 5 more, right? So, I mean, that's the challenge, right? The difficulty, but with a beautiful part goes back to that retention rate. Once you get them, the lifetime value, you can spend a few $100s to acquire a customer in our model, because they're just, year 2 is just pure profit, and so on and so on and so on. So,
yeah. And I was going to say, and I'm a digital guy, techie guy, and still love all that, but it's kind of, at this point, I kind of go back to the grassroots stuff and the offline. I'm very intrigued. Things like direct mail do much better now, than they may have 10, 15 years ago. Especially when you're talking such a great technique, like focusing on those communities right where you
for
are,
sure.
right where you
I think DM, DM's changed. Like back in the lawn care days when I was helping on the lawn care business, you'd send 60, 70,000 pieces two or three times, right? Like hundreds of thousands of pieces of direct mail. Now with our owner base, like we'll look at their markets and we'll look at where we think the lowest hanging fruit is based on data. We'll pull up the mapping and look at, the demographics of who our audience is. And they might be a 5,000 piece mailer 3 or 4 times, or a 7,500 piece mailer. It's not tens of thousands of pieces that are going out. So it's very surgical. And then the tech that we've layered in now, that is that neighborhood option, that's even more surgical. That might be 15 or 20 pieces that go out once a week to a particular market, because you're just trying to grow your route density, right? Everything is about optimization and how many stops can you do in one day. And so when you think about the fact that we're on the property a third of the time, we're using a third of the product, we can do 3 times as many stops a day as anybody else. So these techs are cranking when they're out there.
I love that efficiency. I mean, you're hitting every aspect of the business when you think the way you do. When you guys look at territory planning, how do you obviously are probably mapping that out, looking for the right communities, the right neighborhoods, the density that you need within a territory. Is that kind of how you approach it, to make sure that looks pretty much the way it needs to look? Because you pretty much from there know what you need to do.
Yeah, it is. And the interesting thing is, so the franchise development team, the Fran Dev people that we have working for Mosquito Shield, they use a mapping software and they do just that. We're looking at single family homes at certain income levels and certain home values, because we know our target audience. And that's what we're selling to the candidate that's coming in to look to open up a business. But as soon as they become part of the family with Mosquito Shield, the marketing team goes into that same software and then meets with Rob, the new owner, and says, Rob, let's pick the 2 or 3 best areas, not even zip codes, but areas of what you bought. And they look at the lowest hanging fruit of our core audience. And that's where they're going to market to the first couple of years. Now that Rob will take in customers from everywhere, but where his concentrated marketing efforts are going is very strategic.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's very clear, what works, who your customer is, where they live, and you just need to go bring them the quality product and the lifestyle transformation, and then keep doing it over and over. So is there a digital, is there something on the digital side you'd like to at least check the boxes? Because from what you just described, you could almost run without digital. I know you need it. I know you need it for credibility and other reasons. But what would you say are the things that you want to have in place? What are the sort of make sure you check the box kind of thing?
That's a great question, because the landscape is changing almost by the day right now. Like cost has gone up significantly. I still think that quality, like super local organic SEO is going to be really important to any business in any industry. Like, being found online with credibility, right? And fresh, relevant content is what gives you that. So a good, strong, really strategic SEO program is, I think, super critical to that. Pay-per-click, the paid digital side of it, has to be really strategic now because of just the cost of it and making sure you're getting the conversion on that end. In our business, which is very seasonal for most parts of the country, the nice thing about pay-per-click is you can turn it on and turn it off. So you don't, SEO, you want evergreen, like that's working for you year round, and you're always driving new, again, fresh, relevant content on the SEO side. But dialing up your pay-per-click and having it there. But if you're not pairing that with a very orchestrated grassroots program, the signs, the door hangers, you're not compelling somebody to get online to look for you, right? So one does not work without the other. It never will. And I think that's where we have it in our system, and it can be frustrating for all of us because owners just want that silver bullet. It doesn't exist. I don't think it ever will exist, right? And it also will never be the same thing. Like the levers you're pulling will always change, right? For a period of time, you'll be pulling some levers that just seem to be working, and you go back the next season, and it's like, why aren't these levers working anymore, right? Yeah. So if you're not pairing up your super orchestrated grassroots campaigns, you're not compelling anybody to look for you. Yeah. Right. If you're going to spend money on SEO and have a digital agency working for you, and you don't want to go out and put the signs out, you're wasting your money on the digital side. So I think just, again, I keep saying like a super orchestrated campaign with like that's omni-channel, that's touching on the core elements of what you need is gonna drive the results better than looking for just a couple singular channels and hoping that's going to work for you.
Well, and the way you're describing it, I can tell you just from all my years of experience, the best way to make a pay-per-click campaign work good is to have other marketing that works good with it, to be smart. And like you said, people will naturally search for you when they see you more. And so you're kind of keeping that audience really tight and just focusing on converting, right? And then move to the next community, right? But that to me is the way to use it, right? Versus let's throw up some ads and hope it works without any other layers of awareness, or like you said, there's 10 to 12 touches, right?
And I think validation will always be sort of the endpoint where, because like, influencer marketing is big, right? You get somebody that I mean, I think for us, like at the micro level, it's really important that you get a local influencer in your market that has a robust or decent following is gonna help you. But I still think the homeowner, they might see, Rob, who they follow on Instagram, and he always has great things to say about his backyard, and now he's using mosquito control. They're still going to go look to learn more, right? And so, what do they find when they get there? Are there a bunch of really great high quantity of Google reviews when they get to your site or to your GMB listing online? Like, so there's a lot, again, there's so many things that go beyond just Rob, the local backyard guy that somebody follows on Instagram. Like, they're still going to want to learn more about Mosquito Shield. And what do they find when they get there? That one little location in that market has, 480 5-star Google reviews. They're going to be like, wow, that's pretty impressive. Rob's right. And then, you did a really good job on your SEO, so you're top of fold on the organic listings. You just landed that customer.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're right. You can't. The Google is sort of the foundation. Like, they will go through that eventually. They will validate or verify with some quick Google reviews and look there. No matter how they learn. But I want to talk to you now about like what I believe is, again, brilliant on your part. First of all, your product design, and you added some other pests like spiders and ants and cockroaches, which just kind of a checkbox that makes total sense, right? Mm-hmm. So that, I guess, can also help with the transaction values, right? You have more transactions, more use cases, right? Mm-hmm. But I wanted to now move into what you created, which is the other seasonal business, and I know you're just about to launch it, but tell me more about Decorate with Lights and how that will impact your current franchisees and how they're doing business. And of course, what I see is a brilliant move to increase, help with marketing, but help with the whole business model. But explain how they will leverage that.
Yeah, happily. So it's share a wallet, what you just said, right? You've earned a customer in that homeowner. What value driven services can you provide to them and generate more revenue? Right, because you've acquired them already, so you've got that sunk cost in acquiring them. Now share a wallet. What else? How much more revenue can you generate from them? The lighting business is fantastic for us in that sense, and we have a really unique model. We take a very high end design decor approach with Decorate with Lights. It matches our clientele, which is a little bit upstream, of who we target for mosquito control. People they invest in their backyards. They've got outdoor kitchens and fire pits, and so the homes are ideal for decorating. They're in the ideal neighborhoods. It's a very low startup cost for our owners. We currently, Rob, have about, I think, 20-ish owners that are doing holiday lighting. The expectation is that we're actually going to double in size this coming year and have 40 owners doing Decorate with Lights. It's a very compressed season. You're doing it from typically October. You'll decorate right up until the middle of December. You take a break, and then usually after the second week of January, you start doing the tear down on it. But it's super high margin, low volume. We don't do a ton. There's companies out there that'll do $1,200 jobs a day. That's not what we're looking at. We really, again, hold the homeowner's hand. Really, it's a consultative sales approach. So we sit with them, we tell them what their home could look like, and we deliver that for them. So it's a really rewarding process, both for our owners, because you never get to be in the backyard at night, mosquito free, with all the homes you sprayed that day. But to be able to drive by, or when you're leaving at dusk and you look behind and see the decorations that you just did and the beautiful design, it's super rewarding for our homeowners. The other, for our owners, the other great thing is, Rob, it extends the employment opportunity for hiring people, which can be a pain point, right? No matter, I tell people, no matter what business you get in, HR is going to be the toughest thing. Whether you have a year-round business and you're in retail, or you're doing mosquito control for 5 months out in the Lakes region, like, you got to hire people, you got to fill them. What do you do with them at the end of the 5 months? Well, this allows you now to hire people essentially year round. So it's a great tool for that, which was the original reason we launched Decorate with Lights back in 2016, was how can we provide our franchisees an opportunity to keep people retained, keep their key personnel working year round.
Yeah. Now, I've heard that numerous times. I think I hear that almost every conversation I have with home services, especially home services. It's hard, to keep employees anyway, let alone if it's by design, a part-time or seasonal kind of thing. So to have, be able to keep and attract your key people all year round. And I think that's amazing. Like the whole concept of the way you described it, being able to create sort of, again, that experience that so if you decorate a home and you make it look beautiful, how many times that's going to be brought up in that condensed period of time. And then every time it's you guys that did it, you guys that did it, you guys that did,
you can't do the amount of jobs that are coming your way. Like that's the case with our owners. Like it is like, how many jobs do you want this year? Okay. You got them.
Yeah.
That's what it comes down to. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's a good thing, because it's a good time of year. It's a time when people can get together with their loved ones, whatever they're doing, but that is a way to make that environment beautiful for that purpose. And I think it's just a win-win for everybody. So I'm glad you added it. That's a really smart move. Yeah, definitely a different kind of business, but I think it's a nice balance, right?
Yeah. I mean, I'll tell you, we've got owners that are super successful on the mosquito side, and they just want their winter off, and they've earned it. Yeah. And but then we've got a lot that are just like, give me more, right? Like, what else can we do? And they see the scalability and the ramp opportunity with Decorate with Lights. And every time we launch an owner, they immediately have as much business as they can handle, which is awesome.
That's amazing.
It is
awesome.
Beautiful. I wish acquisition on the mosquito side, to be honest with you, was as easy as it is on the. I look back, again, 17 years of doing this. I look back and to me, the holiday lighting business is even more fragmented than mosquito was years ago. There's people doing it. There's a bunch of DIYers. There's a bunch of landscapers that are throwing lights up. It's not the quality. It's not the process that we take. So you can really, really differentiate yourself. And again, you've got a captive audience if you've built your mosquito business. Your customers are all already there waiting for you.
Yeah, no doubt. And it all, wow, and I love that you just casually mentioned, and they can have off, they can have off in the winter and make a great living and run an incredible business, but be off for a few months. That's always nice. Any kind of business model, like, not that they don't work really hard in the months where they're working. I'm sure there's really no schedule there. You just get the job done. But still, I love that. For some, you're right. That's something that they would look forward to, and they could be home at their home with their nice lights all winter, right? Exactly. But very cool that you could even do that, right? You could have the option. I think that says a lot about the model. So before I let you go, I want to make sure we do touch on technology. You mentioned it a little earlier, and I'll just keep it broad and high level. But I'm wondering, is there some technology you just love? Is there a couple things, whether it's operational on the operations side, on the sales and marketing side, anything that you just love that you guys have implemented, that's important to your brand and you're using it regularly? Is there something about technology you'd like to share and think it's just critical to your operation?
Yeah, I think, certainly touched on, I think that new addition that we just layered in for the really we piloted it last year. It's full scale this year on the neighbor marketing. And again, you can go right to the actual house next door. You can do a radius. You can do it to whatever degree you want. But it's just a click of a button. There's no lift on the franchisee's end. Like our owners can just add it and it's done for them. And incrementally, they're just picking up business, and it just leads to margins because you're already on that street. So the more homes you do in a compressed amount of time and route density. So that's a really big addition to us. We've got some cool stuff, Rob, that we're working on right now, and we're testing it out, but using predictive analytics on weather, because again, like we can predict now. So the seasons around the country right now haven't really started yet in a lot of markets, right? You need, without getting too techie on you need nighttime temperatures that drive mosquito activity. It's not how hot it gets during the day. It's when the temperatures at night get to a certain point. I'm not going to tell everybody what it is, but we know that number. And when temperatures reach that number at night, we can say, hey, Minnesota gang, get ready, because 10 days from now, because an egg goes from an egg to a mosquito in 7 to 10 days. So in 7 to 10 days from now, you are going to have mosquito getting in your market. So get signs out now, like get ready, and you can predict it. So building that in where we don't have to have our finger on it to be looking and telling. So having it automated, which is something that we're piloting, which is really cool. So just really neat stuff like that just shows that this is not a spray and pray brand or model. Like we put a lot into that type of thought process on how to just get better at our craft. And then, always improving on like the route optimization software that we're using. There was a call I was on just prior to this one that was showing some recent enhancements for the owners to see things that they can do that literally we have amazing route optimization, and we just released a version that is 5 minutes faster. Like it's proven to be like it can move things around and make your routes, every route every day, 5 minutes faster than before. So those little tweaks over the course of, you got 10 trucks out on the road 5 days a week. I mean, that's amazing efficiency savings that, so just things like that. It's one of the things that has me so excited after 17 years going into a season like this. I feel like it's year one for me, and that we don't ever rest. We talked about the proprietary blend. We had a blend that we launched many, many years ago. 1 year ago, we spent over $100,000 and went back into the lab and reformulated. We had so many learnings over the years of different ingredients and what they do. And again, through 5 Stars backing and investment, we were able to go back into the lab and reformulate our blend. And like, who does that, right? Like who would spend that kind of money on something that really the homeowner doesn't really touch it, right? They don't get to, but it provides those results. So those are just things that I think speak volume about Mosquito Shield as a brand and where we believe we're positioned within this space.
Yeah, no, I talk to a lot of guys in your position that are leading brands, and every time we talk, I'm thinking you have your eyes on every facet of the business, and how can we continually innovate, which I think that's what franchising is supposed to be, right? Because I mean, if I wanted to do it on my own, I would do it. But I mean, you want to be part of a brand that quality is first, and the customer experience, and there's a million things you could talk about when it comes to technology, but it's really things like what would shave 5 minutes off the route time? What would make the customer happier? What would increase the transactional value of every relationship, or what have you? But it's those kinds of ideas, but brilliant stuff. You kind of unpack some things. Is there anything else before I let you go? Is there anything else as you look forward into the future about your brand? And I know you want to be excited as you wake up every day, but is there something on your mind now that you could share that you're saying, I want to get to that? Or,
I think we have a 3-year and a 5-year plan, and we do rock setting every 90 days. And we're just in the weeds right now. I mean, the next 8 weeks are going to be just chaos for us as a company, right? It's where everything happens. And so when we just did our quarterly planning recently, and again, we do it through a 90-day lens, but I actually asked everyone, let's look at this as 60 days. What is the most important thing in the next 60 days to drive our business forward and get the owners what they need. And the marching orders for 2025 has been everything we do has to drive value to our owners, and we have to be able to hold them and ourselves accountable for it. So that's what my team is. That's all we talk about all the time. Anything new, is it driving value to the owners, or do we put it aside for right now? And if we launch something, can we hold them and ourselves accountable to it? So that's just our focus right now. But long term, I mean, we have Canada expansion on the radar, additional services. This, the DWL Decorate with Lights launch is pretty big for us. It's a whole nother offering that can happen outside. We'll have permanent lighting as part of it, landscape lighting as part of it. So it'll be bigger than just, Christmas lights on a home. So DWL is a big venture for us. So yeah, there's a lot of new things on the frontier for us.
I will want to say I love lights. I wish I other than when the light when the days get longer, but I just something about when the days get shorter and everybody starts having lights. I always say to myself, come January, February, I'm like, why do people turn the lights off? I mean, all right, you don't have to have Santa Claus out there, but I really like lights.
It's funny. My kids, beautiful. I mean, they're older now, but when I launched DWL back in 2016 and the few years after that, we would do the ride at night of the homes we decorated, and I'd bring my kids around, and my two younger girls at the time, they got to the point where they could pick out DIY jobs and say, those whites don't match. And, that's not the right spacing on the roof line. And then you're driving around in the summertime saying, oh, look at that house. I want to decorate that one. And that one would be great to decorate. And I would do that peak. I would do that ridge, and I would put a wreath over there. But my kids could pick out terrible warm white lights, that didn't match, not even house to house, but on a landscape, different lights on different bushes that didn't match. So like that, that's the art of
that
it.
level. Yeah, that level. Right. Exactly. You do notice it. The good, I tell you, when you're really good, you notice the difference after you looked at it enough times. Well, that's good stuff. So before I let you go totally, I want you to share with the audience, who you look for. You've been alongside this brand since the beginning. You've innovated it. You continue to do so. It's an amazing opportunity. Who do you guys look for to be your next owners? What kind of qualities are you looking for, and what kind of advice would you share with them now?
Yeah, I mean, I think if anyone's made it this long through today's episode, which I hope that, I think that one thing I'd love to say is like, I really love empowering people into business ownership, whether it's with our brand or any other. So if they took anything out of today's call and they want to connect with me, Michael@moshield.com, find me on LinkedIn. I would love to talk about businesses with you and help you take that leap, because I think it's super important. But, I think we have a unique situation at Mosquito Shield where, we have some very educated, strong-willed, strong-minded owners that bring a little bit of a different level to our brand than I've seen in others. And I think that is something that we foster and encourage. At the same time, it's about following systems. You touched on it earlier in the call. Like, you could do it on your own, but there's so much that a franchise system brings to the table that you want people that you can tell from the beginning are willing to embrace it. We get into the weeds on some other things about like, how well are you capitalized, and what's your current work situation? Are you just looking to do this, part-time? I'm not a huge fan of the semi-absentee model. I do feel like you've got to have some skin in the game and be invested in it. So those are conversations that we have as they're going through the process, and then helping them check boxes as much as we're checking them. It's a two-way interview, right? When somebody's looking at a business opportunity, they're interviewing us, but at the same time, we're interviewing them. So I think that at the end, you want a long-term partnership. I look back at some of the early owners that we brought on are still with us today. And to me, that is like, that's amazing. What's even better, Rob, is some of them are exiting right now, and they're having like life-changing, really meaningful occurrences, which is like so just like really means a lot to me that somebody put their faith in the brand 11, 12 years ago. And now they're riding off into the sunset from the hard work that they've put in, and maybe a little of the guidance that we gave them over the years. And they're having a meaningful exit. So those are the types of people that we're looking for.
Yeah. What an amazing thing to be able to say that. Like, it's That is the end to end, isn't it? Like not everybody and
really
exits
rewarding on our end. Yeah, it's really rewarding because it wasn't without hardship. It wasn't without a lot of pushback. It wasn't without a lot of back and forth. And but again, I mentioned, some of those early owners are what I consider to be true stakeholders in our brand.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, they were there with you in the beginning and helped you launch this thing. It's always nice to see that. And like I said, the impact that then people can make with that exit, right, for themselves, their families, their community, whatever they go on to do. And franchising is full of those stories. A lot of times guys go on to build something else. They had an amazing early success with a different brand, right? And so that's what I love about the industry. So it's good stuff. Well, it was great having you on the show today. I want to make sure we share the URL to the best way to reach out. I have it as moshieldfranchise.com.
That is correct. Moorshieldfranchise.com if you're interested in learning more about that opportunity.
Beautiful. Good stuff. Well, Michael, thanks again for being on the show today. As always, sharing what comes naturally to you. Thanks for being a great leader too. And really doing cool stuff with your brand. And
awesome. No, it's a pleasure hanging out with you again. I consider you a friend going way back now. So thanks again.
I know. Starting to add up, isn't it? It goes fast.
Yeah.
Feels like yesterday we had the first interview. But anyways, it's great to have you. And to our listeners, thanks for tuning in. Please check out moshieldfranchise.com. If you have any interest, these guys are professionals. They're entrepreneurs. They're knowledgeable. I'd reach out if you have any interest at all and get to know them. They'll guide you. I promise you of that. But thanks again for tuning in, and bye for now.